and I would like to welcome everybody that's on right now or who may watch it at a later time to our October Lunch and Learn. Usually these are held in person, but we're trying to be health conscious and do our part to not spread the COVID, so keep everybody safe. So we're still doing Zoom. Thank goodness that we have this technology and we didn't have to just quit what we were doing. So I want to welcome Mitch Robinson with this, I call it Eco Devo. I can't ever remember the exact title of it. Salina Economic Development. Gonna tell us what they're doing and maybe some exciting things that might be coming to our city. So, Mitch, go for it.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm going to go ahead and bring my slides up. Okay.
And then you'll just use your mouse.
There we go. Yeah, the technology's a great thing when it all works. So I'm going to give you a little background on our history. We are supported by, we're a private, not-for-profit organization that the city of Salina is our largest supporter. The county, the airport authority, they all provide cash donations, investment in our organization over a 3-year period. So we look at a 3-year budget cycle. We've just been approved for our 3rd cycle that will start in January. So we know 2022, 2023, and 2024 what the funding level is, and we'll be working from that. So, and then the Chamber of Commerce provides us housing. We have office space in the back of the chamber building with a separate entrance if people wanted to use that. And then we also have all access to the meeting rooms, which really is very helpful for our monthly board of directors meeting that we have the 3rd Thursday of each month. It is open to the public, 9:30 a.m. So we welcome anybody that would like to come and sit in on the meetings, or they're able to take part via Zoom now, like you all are doing. So that's important. So I'm going to continue to move along here. So as I said, we have a 9-member board of directors. These are our 9 this current year. Lloyd Davison, who is a county representative, is serving as our chairman. Paula Freed will be our incoming chairman starting in January. Cheryl Murray is our secretary, and Brian Richardson is our treasurer. So that's our officers. And then the city also has Maxwell Brock Talley and Frank and Jim May. No, I'm trying to remember who our third city appointment is. The chamber has John Gunn and Frank Hampton. The county has Cheryl Murray and Lloyd Davison. The airport authority has Pete Brumgarden and Jim Mays. So it's Brian, Max, and Paula are the 3 city. Yeah, that's correct. So we've got a very good group. They do have term limits. They can do 2 3-year stretches, 3-year terms. And there were some that due to the startup of the organization had the opportunity to have a little bit longer terms because we didn't want to lose everybody all at the same time. So it's a very good group, very good community minded. I've enjoyed working with them. Pete was the chairman that hired me. It was chairman, and when I came here from Western Kentucky, it's my home. I'll give you a little background on me. I've been doing this over 30 years. They came in and we talked about, this is my third startup of an economic development organization, third state. I'm a native Kentuckian, started there, worked in Missouri, Southeast Missouri, Cape Girardeau for almost 20 years in a community there. I went back to Kentucky and then took this position in December of 2016 is when I started. We'll move ahead to the next slide. Our organization, when it was organized, it was basically came up with these 5 tasks: recruiting industrial and other businesses to Salina County. We have retail as an item, but as we like to stress, retail is not a priority really for the organization. Most retail businesses are going to come on their own. And if you look back at the history here in Salina, the main retail businesses have all come in on their own. We've not gone out and recruited. That's just not a good use of our time. Mainly we focus on the industrial recruitment. And then the second item is supporting entrepreneurship and startup businesses, smaller companies here in Salina and Salina County. And we're doing that through a couple ways, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The other items is using metrics and indicators, which we do on a monthly basis following the local economy. We do a small amount of economic development research. A lot of that is tied to some of the projects that we are working with. We've just recently completed a revision of our strategic plan. We're able to get a grant from Evergy, provided us $20,000 to work with a consultant that had completed our first plan. And a lot of that was very similar, but with the COVID impact, we wanted to take a look at exactly how that all impacted the process. And then the final item there is conducting marketing and fostering community with targeted business and industries, which is exactly what that study did. Moving on, and if any of you all have a question, we've got a small enough group, just go ahead and ask, and you don't have to wait to the end. So if you've got a question, just go ahead and you don't have to raise your hand, just go ahead and ask it. Going back, this is the historical aspect. Salina in 2015, there was a series of meetings within the community that looked at how would they like to restructure the economic development process that was going on here. So the chamber at that time had all the duties, and they continue to have an important part on the business retention and expansion efforts. That's meeting with our existing companies is very important, and we help on that when there's a project or something that's needed some assisting with. But so we started discussing that, and the local folks in 2015, and then November 9th of 2015, the formal organization was created, and that long name was generated. I might have come up with a little bit shorter one, having to live with it. And then, as I said earlier, December of 2016 is when I was hired and came during that time. And luckily, I had an apartment that I was able to move right into. I didn't have much of a search. I made a very quick decision. And of course, we all know housing's only gotten worse since then. We'll talk about that a little more. Trying to think strategically is an important aspect of what we do. We do not have the budget or the staff to go after everything. And when I say that, it's trying to be very targeted to the type of businesses and companies that are a good fit for Salina, and that we're a good fit, the community is a good fit for those companies. So in that strategic plan, we talk about aviation being a critical, important target for us for several different reasons. The facility we have at the Salina Airport Authority, the 12,300-foot runway is one of the biggest in the country. The facilities that were left by the military with a lot of the buildings that are under use, and we'll talk about one of those successful ones here in a moment. But a lot of that assets really lead us to the importance of aviation for the community. We can talk about K-State. We'll have to throw out the Polytechnic. The old name now, I have to keep remembering, K-State Salina College of Avionics and Technology, which is a great name. And the programs that they offer, both in the manned and unmanned, the drone world, are real assets because of the ranking of that program and how it can go out and reach to industry involved in that area. Currently, the college is working with several industries that have a real piece of the market, and there's some studies, research, and they've also been hiring interns from the college. And two summers ago, we visited, a group from the community visited their headquarters in the San Diego area, and we got to meet about almost 20 students, former students, now full-time employees that are employed by that company, that were have been good employees, either from Salina or from the main campus in Manhattan, engineers from there. So it is a real asset to have that program here in Salina and on the aviation field, both the drones and the pilot program. Okay, let's move ahead a little bit. Our large scale successes, I think this is something that we talked about, was of interest from you all, and it's kind of exciting. And the first few times I've been out, when I got here, we talked about a lot of what ifs. What are you doing? Now we can go back and say, what have we done? And that's something that it does take time. Economic development is a process that takes time. We'll talk about a couple of these projects and the time frame of how they work. But the first one, and it does go back to aviation, it is One Vision Aviation. If you haven't been out to the airport, you need to go out there and see what's going on for a couple reasons. One Vision is a company that was headquartered in Iowa, and they were looking for a building, which is very common in economic development world, people start with existing buildings because they're less expensive. If you have an immediate need, people can move right into an existing building. And the building they were interested in is known in the community and from the military as Big Bertha, which is the big hangar on the north end of the airport that you see coming south on Interstate 135 or coming down Centennial.
Mitch,
So
I
they
have a
came
question.
in. Yes.
Is that what was Raytheon and Beach? Is that what
Beach.
Big Bertha is?
Yes, I believe I know Raytheon. I'm sorry. I know Beach had used several different buildings, and I think at different times, both of those companies had multiple buildings at the airport. But yes, and you're absolutely right. So that building, since they closed, that building has been used for contract work, which is short-term leases with people who've come in and operated test programs. A lot of the airplanes you see flying here are doing test work. They're doing touch and goes, which is landings and takeoffs. Before an airplane can be certified, there's a long process of testing that has to go on. And Salina is great for that. We've got a good relationship with folks in Wichita at Wichita State. You all see the facilities when you go down to Wichita there on the left-hand side. That's just one of the aviation buildings they have. And so there's a lot of give and take now, and having One Vision here, they actually have people working in Wichita at the airport down there, doing some of these improvements on the aircraft that will eventually, we hope, will be able to be done here in Salina. But One Vision was a company that was announced in October of 2019. They quickly got up to 100 people, going up. I think they were over 200, and COVID came at that time and devastated their growth at that time. And they went down to about 35 people. And you started seeing the airplanes. If you travel out that way much, you saw huge numbers, much more than what's out there now. Planes that were basically parked, and were waiting to be brought back into service. And that's one of the things that One Vision specializes in. It's very reassuring as somebody who does fly some, not as much as a lot of folks, but the amount of checks, they're called heavy checks and light checks, that companies have to do on their aircraft after so many hours of flying, so many trips. They have to have these heavy checks done, and that's what One Vision does. In addition to, they do complete overhauls on airplanes. That's a lot of what you're seeing out there now. If you look closely, you'll see the engines in many of those planes have been removed, and the companies are trading parts out, bringing new, higher, basically what you would say lower hour engines, putting those into planes that they want to bring back into service. So when all those planes came into Salina, that was really a very positive thing for One Vision. In fact, they were able to benefit long term from other companies not being able to survive the COVID impact. So they currently have somewhere around 250 employees. They have a very big desire to get to 450. The work is there. Again, it comes back to housing. We don't have enough housing. We'll talk about that some more. But you can see here, another reason aviation is a real target is the wage levels that people work in that industry. So very important to try to bring back as many of those aviation jobs as possible. So here's just a picture from October. Senator Moran was able to be in town, and Jimmy Sponder is the gentleman there in the hat holding the giant pair of scissors, getting ready to cut the ribbon on their new facility. But Mr. Sponder and his family have moved here. They actually, I think, now own 4 houses, and they are renting. They have a lot of their employees living in those because people have not been able to find their own homes. He actually, when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, he had 2 people living in his own house. So that's the situation of housing. So this is a quote that he gave us several months ago about the doors are open for hiring right now. And this is a picture from the opening that day. You can see that was one, I think they had 2 or 3 airplanes in. Right now, I believe they've got 7 or 8. So they started off with just a quarter of the building, and they've grown to where now they're using the entire building. So it's quite exciting to go out there and see the growth in their business and look at the parking lot. You've seen, the amount of cars, and again, they've got bigger plans for where they want to go. So I talked about time-wise. This was one of the faster projects, probably maybe the fastest project that I've ever worked on, because it was looking at an existing building. They made a very quick decision. When they came in for their first visit, they brought 2 bankers with them, which when we met them, there's about 8 of them that came. And when we met the 2 bankers, we realized right then that they were very serious. That's very unusual that a company would bring their bankers with them. But we sat and had lunch and had a very nice discussion. And at the end of the meal, it kind of went around the table. They were giving their input to Jim Sponder, and the bankers both gave him a big thumbs up that they felt like this was a facility they could help support with his operation. And Tim Rogers and his staff did a great job of putting a lease together and have worked with them very closely. So we were very fortunate to get that project done pretty quickly and up and going before COVID gone. They've bounced back and are looking forward to continued growth there. So anybody have a question? No, I'll move on. I'll move on to the next one. So that was October 19, and then August of 2020, we had two announcements the same week. And as I said earlier, I've been doing this 30 years. I can say I've never had 2 announced in the same week. We always tried to spread them out, but the companies felt like it was fine to go ahead and do it the same week. So I said, okay, that's what you guys are happy with. We're happy with it. So Swan's company announced one of their, well, as far as I know, the largest investment the company's made. As many people know, they were purchased, I think it's 3 years ago now, by a Korean company that's a large food manufacturing conglomerate, which is wanted to expand into the United States. So they were able to purchase the Swans company from the family. They did not purchase the big trucks that deliver food to individual homes. That was kept by one of the Swans family members. They wanted to keep that business in the company within the family. So this project is an expansion of their building. If you haven't been out there, drive like you were going to the airport, and you can come right by that would be the south end of the building. But they're adding 400,000 square feet. I think that's the length of four football fields. The building is huge. They're going to put 2 new automated production lines. If any of y'all ever been in the current Swans plant, from what I understand, that's been added on to, I've heard 80 something times. I think that's probably right. If you look at the roof, an aerial picture of the building, you can see it's a patchwork quilt of added additions. So their production lines sometimes run in circles and they have to make loops around. These 2 new lines will be straight, and they will produce, each line will produce a semi-load of pizza an hour. So they have a tremendous business. They can't make enough pizza right now to meet the demand. We think of, you know, the models, the lines that we can go to the grocery store and buy, the Red Baron, the other brands, but they have a tremendous business in the institutional pizzas. And I don't know how many of the schools, if that's a Friday pizza, like it was when I was in school, with that little rectangle, you know, that's what we all like. Gotta have that rectangle pizza to fit the tray. Also inmates in jails, prisons, they get pizza. Before COVID, one of their biggest customers was the ship. I'm gonna gone brain dead here for a second, but the cruise lines is what I'm trying to say. They sold a lot of pizza to the cruise lines, which was served on the cruise ships. So that business has obviously gone away a little bit and take some time. But this is a $600 million project. It's a major investment that has several phases. The main thing that we were very interested in was that retention of the 1,200 existing jobs. Right now, they're down a little bit below that number, and it's strictly a hiring situation. But they're just trying to get enough hires to stay at that level. When these 2 new lines get going, year 2, which will be next year, they're going to bring in 42 people that basically will help be getting the new machines put in place and getting them lined up. So these will be higher paying positions at $65,000 number. And then year 3, they'll add 183 positions, that'll be the full production staff for the two new lines. So at that point, after that point, they'll assess where they are with their production. At that time, they may go ahead and add a third line. It may be just a couple of years depending on the schedule, but they've got more plans for investment in pizza here in Salina. So that was a project. We talked about the short-term aviation. That was, I never did really say how long that was, but that was only about 6 weeks to get that project from we're interested to having a contract signed. This project, partially due to COVID, it's been about a 3-year project from the first visit to the announcement. And
Mitch, one of those salaries is base average salary and the other one is median wage. Can you explain the difference between those?
well, I can't. That's the way they were given to me. And I'm not sure the base is obvious. Those are a higher paying positions because they're more technically oriented. So that's why they're higher with that base. But there'll actually be more people making, I shouldn't say more, but there'll be some people that are making more than that amount because of the engineers. They were going to be bringing in several new engineers into the facility. Median would be there's median, and trying to think of the other one. I'm going back to my old economics class, but did somebody? I'm not, so I can't really give you an idea again what the difference is.
Thank you.
I have to go get up an old textbook to find out what that was. I probably slept through that day in economics. Here's a couple pictures for you. That was August 10th. That was a Monday. The little lady in the middle of the picture there is our governor, Governor Kelly. She has done an excellent job. She and her Secretary of Commerce, who is now also Lieutenant Governor, David Toland. David is the third one from the left with his mask on, as everybody is. And Senator Moran is on the far right. Numerous city commissioners are there. And then the company CEO is right there by the governor and several other company representatives. And then what you see on the right-hand side is the long rectangular building, as well as the addition that's closest to the picture. And you can kind of see the old plant over there, all those different raised roof particle pieces. That's the expansion that you can really see better in an actual photograph, but this was the drawing of the facility, and it pretty much looks like that, maybe a little bit different on the section closest to us, but this is all on the west end of the plant, the section closest to the runways. So the airport authority had to put together some additional property that they provided to the project at no cost to the company. Also, the former gymnasium at K-State, which was a building that really needed to be demolished. That was a critical piece of the project. We had to be able to get that purchased from the college, because it's basically sitting at the south end of the plant, which is the bill. It was literally in the path of the building. So but we've been real excited about the progress. They've been able to. They're pretty much on time, on schedule, budget wise. Everybody, I think, probably has heard about the cost of construction materials going up. It's pretty. They've been able to handle it very well. They planned ahead. So this is an overlay of the plant. You can see kind of underneath the south end, toward the bottom of the screen, you can see where the old gym used to be, and it's right over the top of that. And then you'll also see what they call the retention or detention ponds. They look like two large lakes now. That's been constructed to help with the retention. Unfortunately, all the water from the airport used to drain kind of right through that property. So there were some pretty extensive culverts that had to be put in, and the water was redirected around the construction site. So it's been a pretty carefully engineered project, and we've also been able to get a federal grant that has helped with the Centennial Road. There are going to be some improvements on that, and then also along Centennial Ditch. That ditch is going to be cleaned out and deepened to help with the flow of the drainage water, as well as water we get from rains that have impacted that area in the past. Okay, anybody have any other questions on this project before I move ahead? Okay. Next up, later that week, that was Monday, Thursday, Great Plains, Kubota. Those of you all aware, Kubota, Japanese company, bought Great Plains right at 6 years ago now. And understandably, everybody was concerned about the potential impact of having a company acquire one of our biggest employers. And I can definitely say it's been, both of these projects have been very good news, because capital that have been brought to the community with these two new owners would not have been able to probably have been gotten by the previous companies. I know from what I've been told, the owners at Swans had basically made the decision they did not want to invest, did not want to take that risk, and so they decided to sell. So I can't say that about Great Plains, but they've been able to get a lot more funding into the community. This is a $53 million expansion. Those of you all don't know, they did acquire the former Phillips Lighting building, and have ended July 1st, and they're in the process of renovating, changing that building for a new production line. And you'll see here in a second a picture of what these new units are going to look like. But the first year, they're going to be bringing in 30 new positions. A lot of these will be engineers. They are going to have a lot of folks from Japan. I say a lot, several folks from Japan come here for a couple of years for the startup. But what they're doing is they are bringing I'll go ahead and move. But you can see the picture. So there's 130 jobs over the first 3 years. And then after year 4, there's some next stages that will bring additional jobs, another 250 to 300, including 50 engineers that will be coming to the community. So this is a picture from the announcement. Linda Salem, the president, there is on the right. It shows these are called track loaders. Don't call them a bobcat. That's the competition. So we don't use that word anymore. We say track loaders, or we say Kubota loaders. And then back on the left-hand side is David Tolan, the lieutenant governor, who was here to make that announcement for the state. But this is a line of several new products that are in the construction industry that have not been made in the United States until they will be with this new line. The company has a facility in Abilene. They purchased a large distribution center over there a couple of years ago, and they've gotten that up and going with, I'll show you a picture of it. The picture on the left-hand side, the smaller unit, that's actually a kind of walk on. You stand on the back of it, but it's a much smaller machine that you could take it around like the side of your house through a gate. And then the new machine, the new machines will be a series of, they'll be getting bigger. And, but this is a picture of some of the local team and the state folks that worked with us, along with Jamie Hall and myself. Jamie was the main point person for Great Plains. But we also, so those are the 3 big projects that really made the biggest impact. But as you all know, as I stated earlier, so supporting small business is another critical point. Working with entrepreneurs, and one of the things we did, what we called Entrepreneur Summit in April of 18, where we brought about 50 people together, representing lots of different organizations, to talk about the needs of the community in terms of small business and entrepreneurship. And basically it came out with 3 items. One was the development of a gathering of entrepreneurs, people who were thinking about starting businesses, and those of us who support that sort of thing. So we decided to meet at the temple, and currently are meeting in the basement now, but we started off with upstairs. Todd Welch was Todd was our first speaker. And as it says, if I could read, it does say inaugural event. Thank you, Robin. But that was our first evening. And we did have to shut down during the worst of the COVID outbreak, but we've now come back to having sessions again. They are the first Wednesday of each month, and as you'll see with this slide, it's either 7:30 in the morning or 5:30 in the evening. So we try to rotate where we get people who work different shifts, who are maybe small business owners who can't be there first thing in the morning, or maybe they can be there in the morning, but they can't be there in the evening. So we want to try to get as many opportunities. We've worked with SCORE. SCORE is a senior corps of retired executives, a great group out of Wichita, which unfortunately the gentleman who was running that as the chief volunteer passed away about 2 weeks ago. They're working through all their volunteers to kind of find out who's going to be the next leader of that. But they're a very good group, bring a lot of expertise, and we continue to have sessions online that people can attend via Zoom and other methods. But so there was discussion about at that summit meeting. The first thing that came out was the monthly startup Salina meetings. Second was having more training opportunities. So between the chamber and the different efforts through SCORE, Small Business Development Center at Fort Hays, which covers our area, and through other volunteers, we've been able to have, I think we're up over 40 different workshops that have provided educational opportunities for people. The next one will actually be November 3rd. The year is almost over, and Gus Applequist, the owner who does a lot of video work, creative work, will be our speaker starting at 5:30. The doors will open and it'll start at 6 o'clock. And we'll have discussions about other programs that's available through the different groups that support small business. This has been an interesting effort with some of the sponsors that have assisted efforts, Dane Hansen, the North Central Regional Planning Commission up in Beloit, Chamber and their Project Open. I mentioned SCORE, the Small Business Development Center there at Fort Hays. There's also now a regional person who covers part of our territory for them. Network Kansas, which is one of the funding programs across the state, and then the Temple, which has been helping to house our meetings, and then the original sponsors for the startup effort was Evergy, SS&C, First Bank Kansas, and I can't read the tech one. You all can see that better. But
ISG. I think it's ISG.
Yes, it is ISD. Thank you. Yeah. So we're hoping to get that moving again. About the time we had to close it down, we were having sessions of 25 to 30 people. So we were very pleased with that. Unfortunately, we just, we got impacted like everybody else has. So I want to talk about kind of priorities we've got a couple more minutes where I want to answer y'all's questions if you have some. But we've really, I played a little basketball back a long time ago. So I like to use the word pivot because I played in the pivot. And we've made some changes here because of the need for housing. We have a desperate need, and it's not just, well, it's really for at all levels. Any of you all who have followed this, the city went through and did a complete overhaul of their housing plan with a consultant who did the original plan in 2016. but we have actual needs and main need for housing at all income levels. Maybe not necessarily the high end, but we're even behind where we should be in terms of our numbers. Right now, there's maybe, I haven't heard the recent count in the last month or so, but you know, we're in the 30 to 35 house range, and we should have like 500 houses in a community of this size. So we're working. The city has come up with some new tools to create assisting programs to make it more attractive to bring companies in. But so housing, workforce development, we're working with the chamber on that and their Imagine Salina project. And then the other top item is childcare. We've tried to work through the state, but there has been a group of local agencies and interested parties who realize that childcare is a critical item. We were making some progress on that as well before the COVID impact slowed that down. But those are kind of the top three things that we see as issues that need to be worked on. And we're not going to be the lead agency really in any of those, but we're going to be there helping to pull the load to try to get more people to come here, because we have jobs. There are well over 16, I think the current number of available jobs is 1,600 positions that are open in the community. And that's from, you know, from the McDonald's to people at the hospital. So that covers everybody and every financial, educational range of requirements that you can imagine. But we just don't have the people. And this is not just Salina, this is a nationwide issue. But a lot of it goes back to that number one issue up there, the housing. We do not have the space. So going back to that study and the efforts, there's been some progress, and we need to thank our folks in Topeka that have been very helpful to bring some people aware of what's going on here. The Magnolia Point Apartments has gotten approval for funding from the city, 168 units. That will be a variety of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and a few 3 bedrooms. But that's right just north of Menards. So that's going to be pretty much the first project that's going to come out of the ground. Unfortunately, we thought it was going to be this fall. It still might be this fall, but it may end up being in the spring. The Ryan Edition is several local builders and the local landowner who are putting together efforts to build townhomes and smaller quadplexes, I believe would be the right way to say it. They're off of South Ohio. There'll be a combination of 106 of those. And then those are definitely moving ahead. There are some other ones that have submitted. We're talking to the city. So we're very excited about that. And then last Monday, some of you all may be aware of discussions at the study session concerning the former Ambassador Hotel. We're very excited. There's a group here from California that's looking at acquiring the hotel and then converting those rooms into basically one bedroom. It wouldn't even be a bedroom. It would be they would either put a Murphy type bed or a smaller bed in that, but it would be, those would all be 100, there'd be 191 units there. But they've also talked about building maybe 2 and 3 bedroom units kind of along the perimeter of that property. And they've also talked about some other property as well. So this is not a definite deal yet, but it shows some creativity and some interest from this company. And that's what they do. They like to do hotel conversions, and they've got a couple hotels in Branson they've got a couple in Alabama they're working on. They've been in the apartment business for about 40 or 50 years, so they've got some real experience. So okay, time for questions. What have I breezed over or not answered for you?
I have a quick question before I go. I'm interested in the housing situation here. My big concern is how really affordable is housing going to be? When I hear people talk about paying 500 and on up, 6, 7, 800 or whatever for rent, or trying to buy a new place, for many, it's just unaffordable. And my real concern is about the people who need work, who's willing to work, but will not have sufficient income to afford what all of this housing must cost.
Right. Well, I think on the Ryan edition, I know they're trying to build those homes somewhere in the $220,000 amount target. That's their target, from what I've been told. That's still a lot of money. It's still a lot. So what the ambassador they've looked at, and they have a PhD from who used to be at Stanford, involved with doing their study to figure out how they're going to put it. He has been pretty confident that people will be able to afford what they're looking at. They're trying to come in the $500 a month, if not less, on their units. Now, whether or not they're going to be able to make that, we don't know. But you've got every right to be concerned about the cost of housing. But what the city plan involves other efforts to try and get homeowners maybe to, if they're seniors, move to senior living complexes where they can then sell those homes and potentially look at doing refurbishment of those existing houses. And that's going to help with the prices of the homes. They'll be in a lower, more affordable range. And that's something we've just got to help bring in. There's a lot of terms about the north end of town. We've got to give people new opportunities where those homes will come available, and they'll start turning over more, and they'll be at a lower price point that people can afford.
And one more thing with in relationship to what you just said in terms of North Salina, I'm all for improving our community, and you mentioned a lot of things, but efforts are really, more effort is needed in North Salina to help the situation there, to bring it back. And I'm concerned that that lots of money is spent elsewhere, and not always in North or I think even West Salina could use some refurbishing. And I'd like to see some help going those directions.
I would agree that the biggest problem we have with both of those directions on development is the floodplain. Because of the issues of creeks and the topography of both of those areas. You go out after any big rainstorm and you see, there's a lot of standing water, and you just cannot build in a lot of those areas, and that makes it very difficult. But the city is aware of, they agree with your concerns, and there are efforts targeted at both of the lower income section, the lower areas of the community to help rebuild and improve those homes. Good thoughts.
So Mitch, I will just say that, well, as a member of the school board, I can't really speak for the whole board without a vote, but I think I will say that the school district would really love to have young families with young children that are going to go to our schools. And so I'll encourage you to keep working on those, bringing in the new jobs, finding places for the families to live, and carry on with your work.
Well, we're excited about that. I think the opportunities are here now. We've got to just get the housing piece and the child care piece worked on as well, and then it'll start recycling. I mean, we'll start getting more people coming here. We've just got to have some affordable homes built, whether they be apartments or owner occupied. So, well, I appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you all.
Well, thank you so much.
We're past our time a bit, and I've got a doctor's appointment myself I got to get to. So,
Well, thank you for being here, and our next Lunch and Learn will be on November 9th, and it will be on the juvenile justice position that the League of Women Voters has. We are revisiting it and updating it, and Ann Zimmerman is part of leading that, and so she and her group are gonna give us an update.
Okay, thank you, Lori.
So thank you for being here, and to those of you watching at a later date, we will see you soon. Bye.